all? Welcome back to this week's Bourbon of the Week. We are here in Newport, Kentucky at the beautiful new Riff Distillery where we have this Bottled and Bond bourbon that we are going to review today. We have talked about Bottled and Bomb before, but we have not talked about chill filtration and what that can do for a bourbon. So let's get into that and let's see where this falls on the list. Let's get to it. So here we have it, new Riff. This is a Bottled and Bond. Beautiful pop. So obviously it is a 100 proof bourbon. And everybody knows before we get started, time for the traditional sip. Got it this time. Cheers. That's good. So it all started with two gentlemen. You have Ken Lewis, you have Jay Arisman. Now Ken owned the largest retail liquor store of all of America called The Party Source. He had a spirits manager, his name was Jay, and the two of them hired Larry Ebersol from Seagram's to be their master distiller. Now, Seagram's was the largest distillery in the entire world at one point, and Larry worked for them for over 4 decades. Larry Ebersol and Seagram's is actually now called, think about it, from Lawrenceburg, Indiana. What other big distillery do we... MGP, and that's how it comes full circle back to sourced bourbon. But this is not a sourced bourbon. This is made by New Riff, and it says that right here on the bottle, distilled, aged, and bottled by New Riff Distillery, and it has to say that because it's a Bottled and Bond. So we'll get into all the Bottled and Bond things again. We'll touch on all that real quick. But that's how this story gets started, and it's a great one, to be honest with you. No BS, no hidden bottles, no resurrecting the family name. 3 guys who knew what they were doing put together this great product, and that's how we got it today. So that's enough about the actual bourbon. Let's get into price, taste, and drinkability on this. Like always, we're going to start with drinkability, which tells us, does this have a big ethanol kick with it? Well, it is a 100 proof bourbon, so it's definitely going to have some, and it is a 30% rye, so it's definitely going to have a little bit of a spice note to it, which people often mistake for burn or ethanol, but it's not. It's actually part of the flavor profile, which is really good, but we'll get into that on taste. Drinkability on this, let's give this one more sip and let's find out. It definitely has a little bit of an ethanol note to it. Again, it is 100 proof. They do add some water to this to distill it down to that 100 proof. I'm assuming, I don't think they pull it right out of the barrels at 100 proof. But that 30% rye definitely kicks in there at the end. I'm going to give this like an 8.2 on drinkability, and I think that's a pretty easy spot for it. Again, it's nothing crazy overwhelming on the ethanol kick, but at the same time, there's definitely a little bit of a note for it. So 8.2 on drinkability. So next we're going to get into taste on this, and the taste on this is really where this thing is going to hit home. I actually love this flavor here. Once you get past those first couple of sips, you really let this open up, you let that ethanol kind of dissipate a little bit, you really get a good tasting bourbon right here. A little bit of an orange note. I don't usually pick up those type of like fruity notes like that. Usually I can just say like it's a dark sweet note, but there's an actual orange note in this that you can pick up right away. The rest is just your traditional bourbon flavors. Pretty good vanilla. Not too much oak. This is a 4-year aged bottle. I think it says aged at least 4 years. At least 4 years. So we're going to say 4-year aged bottle. Has to be at least 4 years to be Bottled and Bond. But other than that orange note and your traditional vanilla, caramel, pretty good sweetness. And then obviously at the very end there is going to be that high rye spice. Nothing really stands out, but it's perfectly balanced, perfectly flavored. I don't hate anything about this taste. I really like it a lot. And that little orange note gives it that sweet note at the beginning, followed by that spice that just balances everything out very smoothly. Obviously, when you have a master distiller like Larry Ebersol working for you, you're going to have a good product as far as the taste goes. So they blend this well, and I really like it. Let's give this like I'm going to actually give this like a 9.1 on taste, and I really think it belongs there because this is one of the better tasting, younger Bottled and Bond bourbons, especially considering this is quote-unquote a craft distillery. Now, obviously, you have 3 gentlemen who know what they're doing, which is why they can put out such a good flavor like this. But it's technically a craft distillery. It's only 2 years since they put out a bottle, 3 years since they started distilling. It's really good, 9.1. So last but certainly not least, that's going to get us into price on this. And what do you think they charge for this bottle right here? Of course, $39.99, because that's what it seems like everybody charges for bottles of bourbon. $40 seems to be the cutoff, and I don't know why. But the question is, do I mind paying $40 for this bottle? And the answer is quite simply no, I don't mind paying it, and let me tell you why. First of all, you're getting a 100 proof bourbon. Love the fact that it's a little bit higher of a proof. Second of all, we already talked about it. It tastes really good. That little bit of orange, that high rye, one of my favorite combinations, to be quite honest. Lastly, it's a smaller quote-unquote craft distillery, and I don't mind supporting a craft distillery. I'm really interested in what else they can put out. I know they have a rye, they have a single barrel, and they have a single barrel rye. We'd love to try all 3 of them. But that's why I don't mind the $40 price tag, and that's why we're going to give this, let's say like an 8.8 on the price scale. So while I add these scores up, let's send it over to this week's Bourbon Bomb of the Week and figure out why exactly non-chill filter is a big deal these days. Let's figure it out. So this week's Bourbon Bomb of the Week brought to you by New Riff and Chill Filtration, and we're going to go over exactly what that is and why it's important. Well, what is it exactly? Basically, when you chill filter something, you get it so cold, 0 degrees, sometimes even colder, that the fatty acids, known as lipids, actually bond together. And when they bond together, they become easier to filter out of the liquid. Well, why would you want to filter out the lipids from the liquid? Well, the answer is simple. Basically, if you don't filter those out, when you pour something over ice or something stored in a cold environment, it may become cloudy. Now, people equate cloudy bourbon to bad bourbon. So if you get a cloudy bourbon over and over and over again, even though it's not bad, just because they didn't filter it like this one, they equate it to bad. And when you see that, they might stop buying your product, because the clear bourbon, the very crystal clear stuff that you can see straight through every time, seems to be what people prefer. Now the question is, does it have any effect on taste? And the jury's kind of out on that. There have been studies done where multiple people are given chill filter and non-chill filter of the same thing, and they can't tell. There's also been studies done where they can. You, me, the regular consumer, probably can't tell at all. And to be quite honest, a lot of people will say if it's over 90 proof, it doesn't matter if you chill filter it or not. So if it says non-chill filtered on 100 proof, 110 proof, they're basically just putting that on the bottle to tell you that. That doesn't really mean anything at that point anymore. So that's what chill filtration is. Up to you if you care about it or not. To be quite honest, I don't think I would notice the difference. Just know that if it's a little bit cloudy, today's market, it's probably not bad. Non-chill filtered, you figure out if it's important. Cheers. So moral of the story is, basically, don't always worry about what's on the bottle as much as what's inside of it. Sometimes they're just telling you things to tell you. But in the meantime, they aren't doing that with this bottle, because this scored an 8.70 and actually jumped into, we'll say second, third, or fourth, wherever you want to put it, on our list, which actually ties Bowman Brothers and Four Roses Small Batch. And now that I think about it, I think the Bowman Brothers is a 90 proof compared to the 100 proof that this is. But they are a very similar taste profile, and I love that taste profile. So if you like the Bowman Brothers, I really think you're going to like the New Riff. Make sure you go over to my Instagram page, @Bourbon of the Week. Every Tuesday at 4 p.m. we drop a picture of the bourbon that we're going to review that very next day on Whiskey Wednesday. You can go on, guess the score that you think it's going to be. The person who guesses closest is going to get a shout out on the channel and entered in a monthly drawing as well. Last week we had the Babes of Bourbon coming in with an 8.55 guess on the Bell Mead, closest to our 8.63. So congrats to them. Go check out their page. They actually do a whiskey review channel as well, so make sure you check out their YouTube. Hit that subscribe button for them as well. But please, guys, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button, hit that like button, and leave a comment down below. Let me know your favorite bourbon so I can try it out and see where it falls on the list. Please don't drink and drive. Drink responsibly. And as always, wash your hands. Pandemic ain't over, y'all. See you next week. Cheers.